You go down and then you go up to make it better, make it better. Down underground, it's just one way up. Make it better, make it better. If you stand by me, I will stand by you. To make it better, make it better.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Rise Up with Rebecca Seawright on the Manhattan Neighborhood Network. I'm Assembly Member Rebecca Seawright, proudly representing the 76th Assembly District, the Upper East Side, Yorkville, and Roosevelt Island. This July is Disability Pride Month, a time for people with disabilities to embrace their uniqueness, highlight their contributions, and advocate for the well-being of others. What began as an anniversary for the American with Disabilities Act has grown into a celebration and a call for progress that we proudly continue 34 years later. As chair of the Assembly Standing Committee on People with Disabilities, we recently held the 44th annual Legislative Disability Awareness Day, passing a sweeping legislative package to lower barriers for people with disabilities statewide. This includes the establishment of the Access to Programs Commission and a bill of which I am the lead sponsor, which would create a blue ribbon commission on the future of New York's IDD service delivery system. Another bill was passed to improve the quality of care by requiring reports to be provided to the legislature on staffing data and service needs, both regionally and statewide, has passed both houses. The commissioner of the Office with People with Developmental Disabilities will be obliged to detail personnel levels and other issues causing the continued displacement of individuals with developmental disabilities from state-operated facilities under its jurisdiction. Last year, we twice passed the legislation for the state's first Equal Rights Amendment, which I proudly introduced as the lead sponsor, and you will see on the ballot this November. This historic amendment will finally prohibit discrimination against people with disabilities and others, and it will appear, like I said, on your ballot this November. You just flip the ballot over and there's Proposition 1. As we continue these empowerment efforts, we must recognize and address the distinct intersectional challenges affecting LGBTQ plus individuals with disabilities. I'm pleased to introduce our very special guest who will join us for that discussion. Aaron Rose Phillip has rapidly become one of the leading transgender models with disabilities in the United States. Born in Antigua, Bronx, raised and discovered as a teenager, she has creatively disrupted the world of fashion and expanded representation for countless of other people. Aaron's professional embrace of her authentic self holds promise for the acceptance, inclusion, and success of people with disabilities nationwide. I want to thank you, Aaron, for joining us today and welcome you to the show.
Hi, Miss Seawright. Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everyone.
I have a few questions to get started. July is Disability Pride Month, marking the 34 years since the passage of the American with Disabilities Act. How do you embrace your distinct disability pride, Aaron?
Oh, that's such a beautiful question. I embrace my disability pride by educating others on what my experiences is like as a disabled person. I think that a way to truly empower yourself is to educate. I think education is empowerment. And I think that people overall in society are very not in tune and very oblivious to the struggles that disabled people face, but also the immense joy and power to be found within the disabled community. So every chance I get, I really love and take the time to empower myself and others by educating the world on what it means to be disabled and why people should care about disability and how relevant disability is to society.
Wonderful, thank you. It's so important. And recently in Vogue, you affirmed I am a talented model who has a disability, who also happens to be a Black trans woman. I want to have the same level of success and opportunities that my peers have. How can we help demolish barriers to success?
That is a beautiful question, Miss Seawright. I think demolishing the barriers to success that disabled people face, I think that the first step is to, again, educate. I think that people are scared of what they don't understand. And I think that something that I and many other disabled models have talked about and faced within, the industry is lack of understanding about our capacity for talent and our capacity to work as models and as individuals in the industry. Because much like society in general, people look at disabled people and assume that because we have a disabilities, we aren't capable of contributing meaningfully or successfully to a job or to a space that we inhabit, when that is simply not the truth. If we are accommodated and made, if we are accommodated properly and made comfortable by those around us to be able to do our jobs, we can, perform in the same capacity as any other person.
That's right. That's fabulous. And recently you revealed that you hope to see adaptive fashion everywhere and that it's normalized to the point that we don't even have to call it adaptive fashion. Can you elaborate on adaptive fashion and this aspiration?
Yes, I would love to advocate more on the importance of adaptive fashion, being that adaptive fashion is obviously so important, being that it's fashion that is made to accommodate disabled consumers and wearers of the fashion industry. I think that disabled people deserve equal access and equity in the fashion industry as consumers. I think that we are too often ignored as consumers of fashion and people who are capable of enjoying and consuming fashion. And so I think adaptive fashion is very important, being that it goes to show that there are brands and designers who care to see disabled people consume their products and buy their products and to enjoy fashion. And adaptive fashion to me should be universal, being that everyone should have equal access to be able to wear a piece of clothing that they like. So whether that piece of clothing, for example, today I'm wearing a button up, it would be so much more convenient for me if this button up had magnets, for example. And that is simply adaptive fashion. It's making fashion something that is truly accessible to anyone that can wear fashion via little small but extremely meaningful changes, you know? And I feel like the fashion industry could deeply benefit from adaptive fashion, being that you are making your market available to everyone. How is that, a myth? That's a complete win.
Right, absolutely. It's a complete win. And what a wonderful idea to have magnets instead of traditional buttons. I like that. That's really wonderful. And
Oh,
you
thank
should
you.
start your own fashion line with the first magnet buttons. That would be wonderful.
The future is
Um,
bright. I hope to do so.
yeah. How can your industry and others become more inclusive of people with disabilities, including those with intersectional identities? I know consciousness raising and awareness is huge, along with education, but the industry really does need to change. And how do you think that we can make it more inclusive?
I think it starts with conversations in the corporate office about having a real conversation, being like, why are we not including these demographics of people on the runway or behind or in front of the camera on set when there is for example, a fashion campaign going on or a runway event going on? Why is it that we have made the choice to exclude these demographics out of what we see as capable of consuming and modeling for our brands? Why is our collective mind as a fashion industry still so close-minded, even in such an artistic, beautiful, capable industry of including others, I think that disabled models and trans models have done all that they can to really, speak up for ourselves in an industry that, shows love to us, but only when it is basically convenient to. I think that the real change would start with the casting directors and with the designers and with the corporate offices really having a conversation and saying that we need to commit to inclusivity and diversity full time, not just for a year or for a couple months and then it's over.
And we need people with disabilities and intersectional identities in those corporate boardrooms helping to make those decisions and frame the issues around changing the industry. Tell us about Uber and Lyft's accessibility challenge. Let's switch gears from fashion to transportation and how you yourself have advocated for change.
Yes, I would love to speak about my petition that I made on change.org addressing Uber and Lyft's inaccessibility issues when it comes to disabled, you know, users wanting to traveling out and within of, the city. So I recently made a petition on change.org because I have personally been affected by this issue where if you use apps such as Uber and Lyft, they have this feature where disabled users can take, these rides outside of the city. So you can go to New Jersey, for example, or Long Island, confidently and safely. It will take you to those places. But once you are there wanting to get back from Jersey or Long Island to New York City, there is no return option. And that is obviously worrisome, dangerous, and risky for a disabled traveler. And it is not the same experience at all for disabled people. I mean, sorry, for able-bodied people. It's not the same experience at all for able-bodied users of these apps. Whereas if you are able-bodied and take a ride to Jersey or Long Island, you can also be picked up and go back to where you were. But for some reason, only for disabled people, there is that inequity. And it really disturbed me. And it's an issue that should not at all be the case. And so I'm not too experienced on how I would make a change about something like this, but I have my platform as a fashion model and as a writer and as an activist and as an actress as well on Instagram. And so I also have a TikTok, and I figured if I make this petition, I can use my platforms to speak on behalf of my community, to Uber and Lyft and to change.org that this is a real change that should be taken seriously. This is an issue that should be taken seriously because to me, it's simply unacceptable that disabled people even have to experience this. So I took the initiative to make this petition on change.org, and so far it has about 2,000, almost 500 signatures. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. I'm continuing to promote it as much as I can because I really want to see this change. I think that disabled people too often are victims of having our experiences being neglected or ignored, especially when they're negative. I think that our experiences are pushed to the side, and it's really heartbreaking. And so I would love to see this issue be rectified so that disabled people can have equitable access to transportation.
Excellent. Well, that's fabulous. And are there currently any lawsuits that you know of or that you're aware of
There are
around
several
this issue?
lawsuits. There are several lawsuits. There are several class actions against Uber and Lyft about this issue, in fact. And I've also heard that the way that Uber and Lyft have responded to these is saying that they are not transportation companies, but that they are tech companies, to try to try as a rebuttal for their lack of access. And what I would respond to that and say is that, your technology enables people to move back and forth from city to city. So how is that suddenly not, something that you have to consider?
Right. Absolutely. And as a professional model and published children's book author, what have you learned about self-expression and its importance for youth with disabilities? And tell us the name of your published children's book.
What I have learned about self-expression and how crucial it is to existing as a disabled person in society is that, you are going to live in a world that doesn't make space or time for you. So you have to create space and time for yourself to be heard and received well and to be understood for who you are. And self-expression is the key to do that, whether it's art, whether it's writing, whether it's media, whether it is, going out with friends, whether it is indulging in your favorite activity. Self-expression is so crucial because this world is a world in which, unfortunately, disabled people are not really well received yet. So you have to take it upon yourself to advocate for yourself to the highest degree, to support others in your community, and to support yourself by doing what you love. Empower yourself by doing what you love and make the most out of it each and every time.
And that's such a good lesson to impart. you know, do what you love and what you have a passion for and bring about change for the betterment and the good of society and for everyone. Um, what policies or programs would better support you and your peers?
I feel that policies and programs that would support my peers, for example, is somehow, for example, with the Uber and Lyft petition that I made, having a legislation, you know, happen in which it is not legal to not have disabled people not be protected by the apps that are rideshare services, because I think that there is something going on where it's probably still legal for Uber and Lyft to get away with, having it so that able-bodied people can freely go from place to place, but disabled people cannot. If there would be a policy or legislation made in part so that that is less possible for companies to get away with stuff like that, that would be really meaningful, and that would bring about the change that disabled people desire in taking those services and rides, across the city and beyond. And also, I feel that, for example, I'm not sure of the legal, state of the fashion industry, but it would be really nice if the fashion industry were to just take seriously disabled models and what we are capable of, and that we deserve to be treated with equitable, regard for who we are in the fashion industry and how we contribute in comparison to able-bodied models, and those
Right.
conversations should be had and implemented in the corporate offices, and not just conversations, but changes. Because I think there have had, probably been many conversations about disabled people that have gone nowhere. And so I think that it would be really, really, really beneficial if there were changes actually made as to how they treat and employ and perceive disabled models in the industry.
I'm making notes of that. That's wonderful. What discriminations have you faced as a trans woman model with disabilities?
Discriminations I have faced. Wow, there's so many. I just feel like, I've been able to make tremendous progress in my fashion career. And I have so much support in my fashion career as well that I am so indebted for. I'm grateful to have a team of managers and agents who support me at every turn that I make and who hold me and my talent and in their genuine love and support for me. But there are still issues that I face. And I think that it's, I would just love to be able to have access to my dreams and my aspirations as a model. I want to be able to walk the runway with my peers every fashion season. And the only reason why that's not happening is because brands are intimidated by me being disabled. Despite all of the progress and very notable progress and very notable achievements that I made in my fashion career, there is still the hang up of my disability being a barrier as to my success, when we have proven that models like myself can walk the runway or do a campaign or appear in a cover story or do a job and be able to get paid for it the way an able-bodied model would or the way some other model would. Those are still barriers that myself and other disabled models have to face. And I think that when I think about what I want for the industry, I don't think about myself anymore. I think about, the younger disabled models who have seen my career. I want to achieve the same thing, but who are going to have to deal with these issues that I face still because, the industry has not properly made the changes that it should make towards how they perceive and accept and understand disability in the fashion industry.
Well, you have such a wonderful confidence about you. You've declared, if I'm going to be a model, I'm going to be present with my disability in this industry because I'm allowed to be here. How can confident representation create opportunities for more people with disabilities?
I believe that confident representation can create opportunity just by affirming oneself and saying that I am who I am and I can contribute meaningfully if you support me, because people who are disabled are fully aware of themselves and are fully aware of also their boundaries and what they can or cannot do. But there is still the knowledge that if you support me, if you see me for my talent, if you enjoy and respect me for my talent and for who I am, I can contribute like your favorite supermodel. But you have to put, your leg in this as well. You have to help me too because I require the support and I'm also deserving of the support. And I'm deserving of the platform as well as a disabled model to have the same access to opportunity as anyone else can.
Right. And where would you recommend people with disabilities in the modeling profession go for support and contacts to become a model if someone's aspiring to go into this profession or this field? Where would they go for support?
That's a great question, Miss Seawright. I think that the disabled community in fashion, we have each other. We hold each other up. We have each other as models, as confidants, as friends, as artists, as photographers. We have each other in this industry. Um, a place that, an organization and initiative that I love very much is called Tilting the Lens. They are currently UK based, but it's led by my dear friend, activist and writer Sinead Burke, and she has done invaluable, incredible work to support disabled people in the fashion industry of all kinds. So Tilting the Lens is her organization and initiative, and I'm gonna put that out there. Otherwise, I truly am going to tell you that the fashion industry as is today is still very unprepared to deal with most disabled models, especially in high fashion. Like they are very unprepared to understand or take on disability in high fashion, which is why the work of myself and Sinead and other models has been so invaluable. But we're going to continue to persist and push for those changes to be made because I still have my dreams and aspirations of wanting to be a top runway model like my peers. Because if my peers can accept me, the clients can as well. You know?
Right. Absolutely. Yes, definitely. And how can media outlets improve their coverage of transgender individuals of color, particularly those with disabilities?
Media outlets can vastly improve on how they, perceive and write about trans women, whether it's Black trans women with disabilities, just anyone at all. Media outlets can vastly improve on how they write about trans women and trans women with disabilities by interviewing us. Interview us, celebrate our lives. Don't just write about when trans women are murdered or killed or being hurt, because there is so much positive visibility for trans women who are not Black. And for some reason, there's an inequity problem where trans women who are Black are written about in our worst times of our lives, while white trans women and non-Black trans women are afforded opportunities that Black trans women have to work maybe 10 times as hard for. So I think it just starts with getting to know the community, uplifting the community, uplifting what we do. There are wonderful organizations in New York that empower Black trans talents and models and people. I can think off the top of my head, Black Trans Liberation Kitchen is doing incredible work in supporting Black trans people across the city. It's led by Queen Jean and Gia Love, who are some of my closest friends and who are incredible models and activists and people who support the community. I think just by, supporting them tangibly, by writing about what they do and getting to know the members of that organization and of that space can help immensely. I think it's just about taking the time to get to know the Black trans community.
Who are some of your mentors and people that really have inspired you or had an impact on your life?
My biggest mentor is my mother, Lydia Phillip. She is my rock. She's my greatest supporter. She is a fierce advocate for me in every single way, and she is my best friend. And without my mother, I think I would be nothing. I think I'd be nothing without my mother as a person and as a woman, because she is the one that instilled in me to believe in myself through all odds and to, think to myself that anything that I want to do is possible as long as I fight for it and as long as I advocate for it. She is my rock and my biggest, love of my life is my mother. Besides my mother, a mentor that I look up to is, the great Jeremy Scott, the former designer of Moschino. He is someone that has taken a great chance and opportunity on me in my fashion career by understanding who I am and not judging me and not having bias or prejudice towards me in my modeling career. He has seen me for who I am in so many ways and has championed my career. And to him, I love him so much and I'm so grateful. Also, Hilary Taymor and Charlie Engman of Colina Strata are equally as moment, you know, they are equally as important and as monumental to my career, being that they have also perceived me and my career without prejudice or bias and have allowed me to contribute meaningfully to their brand. So Hillary and Charlie of Colina Strada are angels to this earth, and I appreciate them deeply and wholeheartedly. And also, I just really love my management. I love my management as well. They have stuck by me through, the bad times and the good times, as living with a disability. Because living with a disability is misunderstood, and through everything they have been there for me and have championed me. So I'm very grateful to have a wonderful support system in my life.
Aaron, you were on the Oxford Union debate, a very prestigious, invited. Can you talk to us a little bit about that invitation and participating in that conference?
So yes, I did have the esteemed honor of being invited by Oxford to attend the Oxford Union, in which I was a part of a debate surrounding gender. And that happened January of last year. That opportunity changed my life. I had never been asked or um, thought of to do anything as prestigious or major of that in my life. So that was a real honor for me. I went with my team and my father. We went to Oxford in London, in the UK. I almost said London, but it's in the UK, to do that. And I really loved everything about that experience. I felt very lucky and very blessed to be considered amongst such esteemed intellectuals to be a part of a debate like that. It was really, 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 it was really, really beautiful. That's the word. It was beautiful just of that, because I'm just a girl from the Bronx. I never really thought that my efforts would lead me to Oxford Union. So I was there with them, and I felt such gratitude. I felt really grateful that they were discussing transness in such a nuanced and beautiful way. The debate was so friendly and kind and compassionate. There were no actual conflicts between anyone. There was no transphobia perpetuated in the debate. So it was very beautiful. It was very beautiful, that experience.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that story. What an honor and privilege for them to have you, Aaron.
Oh, thank you, Ms.
And
Seawright.
it's been a fabulous to have you on our show today, and we look forward to inviting you back again. Thank you for all that you're doing and the impact that you're making to change the fashion industry and to bring awareness and education around these topics.
Thank you, Ms. Seawright, so much. Please sign a change.org petition to support disabled people using Uber and Lyft. The disabled community appreciates your support so much. Ms. Seawright, you're invaluable. I'm so lucky and honored to be here. Thank you very much for having me.